Hello and welcome to 365 Days of Healing. Today we're going to have a look at the child within. Now this is all part of the Transformations, the book that I wrote a number of years ago. I think it came out in 2015. And this is the third weekly theme of the child within. So we are all born as children, as babies. What does it mean to be that innocent child? Now, the important thing to remember is that we carry these energies within us all our lives. The child within is an innocent, meaning it has the purity of being. There's no conditioning, there's no shame. We just are what we are born. Now, if we think about a baby, it has no filter. If we think about a child that has not been conditioned, there is no filter to our behavioural pattern. We live moment to moment. We live in the now moment. We don't think about the past or the future. We just are now. So we cry, we laugh, we demand food, we defecate or urinate without any shame. It's just a part of our world. And we have this child within us that hankers to come out all of our life. Now, what happens when the child is born? The parents, not through any other reason mostly than wanting to protect the child, set up a whole idea of a set of fears. Don't do this, you could get hurt. Don't do that, do this, do that, you should, you shouldn't, you can, you can't. And so a whole series of behavioural patterns are developed as we start to grow out of that very pure state of when we're born. And so we are influenced and we are programmed to think and to feel a certain way. But always within us, there is that child that very often just wants to come out. It just wants to cry when it feels overwhelmed by things. It just wants to laugh and to play without any thought of having to do anything than just to laugh and to play. The child is very vulnerable, and so it can set up a whole series of behaviours to protect itself because of that vulnerability. So what I'm asking you to do is to go inward, to think about your child within, the child that just wants to be what and who you really are. Because if we listen to the child within and we allow the child within to direct us, we very often begin to live our lives as we really need to and want to. Depending on our beginning, we'll set up what happens to the child within us as we grow. Some of us may have been abandoned as children, and so there is a fear attached to being abandoned all our life. And our behavioural pattern is then manifesting how we can stop being abandoned. And very often that can be very detrimental to the choices that we make as we become adults. What we need to do in that case is to get in touch with ourselves, that child within, and become the parent of that child. You see, we won't ever abandon that child if we make the choices not to abandon our own child within. And therefore, we can overcome anything that has happened in our world. Now, within that child, very often is a defiant child, a child that will do what they want to do when they want to do what they want to do without any recognition of any authority outside of themselves. And that child can very often be very difficult to raise, even for ourselves, to raise ourselves when we are so against what's happening around us. However, that defiant child also allows us to have patterns of thinking that question everything that is happening around us. And isn't that a good thing, that we question everything that is happening in our world, that we don't just listen to anything outside of ourselves? We actually listen to the voice, the inner voice, which is our inner child, questioning what any authority says and then weighing up if that is to our benefit or not. And so that's a very valuable part of the child within. Mind you, bringing up children as a parent that think like that, it's very difficult, because everything that as a parent you do, they will question. And it can be a bit of a hard task to do that. But it's a good quality, and it's a very valuable quality if it is disciplined, if it is just not defiant and wants to break down every norm around it. The child within has wonderful imagination. The child within sees the world through different eyes. It usually sees all sorts of things that we as adults don't see. It has an imagination that takes it outside of this world that we perceive in this 3D template. Children have an ability to see what we call imaginary friends, say. But are they imaginary, or do we label them imaginary? Maybe they are other spirits or entities that cross a child's path. And so the child within begins to explore some of those entities that come into their world. Some of it can be just purely imagination, of course, it can. And that imaginative process then leads into being creative and opening up to a world of creativity that is often original in its manifestation. It's only when the adult says, no, you don't do it like that, you do it like this, that way is not the right way, that we often block that creativity in the child. And the child within gets shut down. It doesn't pursue what it means to be creative and to explore, whether it be singing, dancing, drawing, painting, decorating their own room, whatever. If we don't allow the child to explore all those parts of itself in that creative world, then we very often can block the creativity within the child. And we as adults then need to stop and give the child within the permission to explore some of those imaginative processes and some of that creativity that may have been shut down. For me personally, I was told I couldn't paint, and I might as well forget it. You know, it stayed with me until I was an adult, and it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed doing. And so I began to pursue what it meant to paint and to draw. And surprisingly, part of my career has been made out of painting and drawing. So it's a very interesting process. There is no my way is the right way. Your inner child knows the right way for you. And very often then it is giving expression and giving permission to the child within to explore all those things that may have been shut down. We can dance, we can sing. It doesn't matter that we're not opera singers or the best singers on the planet. It gives us joy. It brings a natural sense of excitement and wonder and bliss into our world if we just give ourselves permission to be the child. So come on, everybody, release the child within, have fun, explore, see the wonder and the awe around you, and allow the child within to be expressed. And if the child within feels hurt, vulnerable, let down, you become the parent. That part of you that is the adult can look after the child within and parent and be the best friend of that child within. So let the child within come out. Let the child within lead you, because the child within knows a lot more than your adult self gives recognition to. Namaste, my friends.